Yo, what's up? So right here, I have written down my next dream I wanted to share, just because we're really getting close to the end of times. Tribulation's coming soon, and the giants are coming back. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, but as in the days of Noah, same kind of stuff. People on an ark, people who are saved, and people who are not saved, people that are off the ark. And the flood's coming. That's all I'm gonna say. Representative of the flood, but not water, fire this time. And that's just what's coming, and you got to be ready for it. Get on the ark. That's all I'm gonna say. But the dream I wrote down was I guess I'll call it the fall. I thought about the name of it. I'm calling it the fall. So I wrote down some key points just to talk about. It was I started off. I was in this orbital Earth, I was like something around the Earth, okay? Something like hovering over the Earth, really high up in space. And it was like a space station. And they were launching these pods in like waves. So like a couple of people would go in this one pod and they'd head down to Earth. And I was thinking about going to this first one, but I was like, no, for some reason I have a bad feeling about this first round of pods going into Earth. So I waited for the second pod. And then I went with these people in this pod down to Earth, which is, it's like the fallen. It's like the fallen angels, Here, I'll put the scripture right here. Yeah, that's a good way of summing it up. But so we were heading down, okay? We were heading down to Earth, really fast, and we can see you can see all the movement, like everything in space, all the debris is like, it's like this, it's like when you're going really fast. And so there was like these it's like asteroid cloud or something debris of like meteors or asteroids. And that at that moment when I saw those things, I looked to the left. So this camera slipped. I looked to my left, and out the window of this pod, I saw a giant like curly haired, like kind of like chubby. It was weird. It was so realistic. It was like a real he wasn't built strong, but he just had really thick bones. He was chubby and had kind of a stomach, but he looked like he could crush a building. But it was a giant on a meteor, and he was laying down like a kid. And he was freaking crying. He was like crying like a baby, man. And there was these two like Roman-looking soldiers, and I drew a picture, but there was these two Roman-looking soldiers, with like armor and stuff, but there was one on each side, and they came in with this huge basket full of like vegetables and like plant growth, all like food and stuff like that. And they brought it to him, and the giant just could not get enough food. Like they could not sustain the giant. And wait till you hear the scripture, man. Enoch 7. I'll play right now. Okay, so here's Enoch chapter 7. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless one. So that is what was happening here. They couldn't sustain the giant, okay? But the next part is what is really crazy. When they couldn't sustain the giant anymore, they got the basket and whatever, and the giant was just crying, and he grabbed one of the soldiers and he picked him up, bit his head off, and it was like, ooh, it never experienced something. It looks like it's never experienced something that delicious to it. So it was like, and then the other guy, that as soon as that happened, the other guy was like, oh my God, it was like freaking out because they were scared. They were scared that they weren't going to be able to sustain it, and they were scared the same exact thing that was happening now was going to happen. So everyone started panicking. I could tell there was more people around him, but they were the people in charge of taking care of this giant, and they were done. They were screwed. They knew they were going to get eaten. So they brought many baskets, but that was just the last one. They couldn't bring any more. They ran out. They ran out of food. I knew that basket that they brought was the last thing they could give it, because they knew that if they couldn't sustain it, then they couldn't sustain their life. Okay, so the next part. We look back. We're heading down to Earth, and I noticed that I'm surrounded by these other children, kind of like the kids from Pinocchio. Let's say I'm Pinocchio. We are all Pinocchio because we're these kids that just don't know what this world is, and we're just thrown into this pleasure, So Pleasure Island of Pinocchio. These kids are like rebellious. They like, ooh, you want some of this? Yeah. You're like, I want to say you're innocent, but you're not. You're doing this stuff too. But you're just a kid. You don't know any better. Like you're falling. Yeah. So we're going down to Earth, and we reach this top of this mountain, and it's like a really tall, snowy mountain. And this kid was like, "Hey, you ready to race? Let's go race." And all these kids were around us, and this one kid was like, let's go, let's reach the bottom. It'll be fun." And so I race. So I come with them, and we're skiing down the snowy mountain, and I feel like I'm really winning. And I'm about to make it to the finish line. I feel like I might win. And dream ends. Like, what? But anyways, that part of the dream actually represents the snowy, like semen and insemination. Like, we're racing other children, and the first to reach it to the bottom wins. And the dream ends, and you wake up, born. Oh my gosh, like what? It was insane. But I really did not know how to like react to this dream. I don't want to lie. Like, I don't want to lie. But I really keep battling this thought. I believe I read Enoch 7 after I had that dream, actually. Like, after I even knew what this was, like this is the Earth or whatever, and we're headed towards Earth, but I look to the left and there's this representation of Nephilim, these giants from Enoch. And by the way, so let me explain this. I couldn't grasp that this was even a concept if I didn't read Enoch ever. That doesn't make sense, But and I didn't get that concept of that they couldn't sustain them, and then the giants started eating the humans now. I didn't understand that. I'm just saying, I don't think I did. I'm just saying, I don't think I did. If I did, I'm sorry. But it's still profound. I've been given a dream that's this profound, and it's representation of what's coming. And the whole system, but we're the fallen angels, the watchers, these angels that came down from space, heaven, and we created these spiritual representations of Nephilim, because we're coming down into Earth to Pleasure Island from Pinocchio to do whatever we want, live the rat race. We're good. We're not in that Pleasure Island system anymore, but I feel like I need to share this. So I'm read this verse from Psalm 82. Psalm 82, 6. I said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. There's a king. There's princes of the king. Fall like one of the princes we are. And I don't mean to take this away from this guy on YouTube, TheJonathanKleck. I would not be able to understand this without his teaching. God gave him this wisdom that we are actually, oh shoot, okay, it's okay. We are the fallen watchers. We are the fallen angels, and we left our first estate, like that previous scripture. I hope that's really all I can give. I pray peace and blessings upon all you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. I think I might have a little bit more to share with you guys soon, but we don't got much time left, so hopefully I do it in quick succession to this video. One last thing. I also wanted to say that there was a thing I wrote on this piece of paper, and it was be David. That's what it says, be David. And David means love. I didn't learn this myself. TheJonathanKleck on YouTube, he was the one that, made it known, but it's simple search, love, David, love. And, think about it, love versus the guy that was trying to kill David. Remember the giant, Goliath? David versus Goliath. So what is that representation of? Someone small, meek, David, love, versus, wait a minute, so giants are bad then, right? Because giants are opposing to love, the love side, So TheJonathanKleck also explained that he swung that sling above his head with a stone in it. It formed a eye, you see? So I'm gonna try to do this. It formed an eye. Like how it's circular like this above his head, but when you flip it like this, it's an oval, like an eye. And so that represents like the spirit. So the spirit of love killing with a stone, pineal gland right here, the giant, the Nephilim, the evil spirit. So hopefully that's hopefully I've said everything. I don't care about so much, editing and like music and making it look crazy, but I do want to look nice. I do want to make the video look decent. I want to make sure I say everything. So hope you run with that. Love you.